Everyone knows the number 7 is something lucky, a number you hope for on a dice roll or a slot machine. But thousands of years ago, in the land of the Nile, that same number meant something very different. Imagine standing in a torch-lit tomb chamber, staring at a wall covered in symbols, and noticing the number 7 carved again and again, not once, not twice, but woven into spells meant to protect the dead from something far worse than darkness. The real question is, why would an entire civilization build its magic, its medicine, and its fear around a single number? And the answer may be older than most people think. To understand that, you have to imagine waking up in ancient Egypt, a world with no electricity, no explanation for disease, no way to know why a scorpion sting could kill a child in hours. In that world, the sky above you was not empty, it was alive, watched by gods, patrolled by unseen forces that could bless a harvest or curse a household overnight. And against that kind of world, numbers were not just for counting grain, they were believed to carry power. But here is where the story turns strange, because among all the numbers the Egyptians could have feared, they kept returning to 7. Picture the goddess Isis fleeing through the marshes with her infant son, hunted by enemies who wanted the child dead. And traveling beside her were 7 scorpions, sent not to harm her, but to guard her, each one given its own name, its own role. 3 walking ahead, 3 walking behind, 1 hidden beneath her sandals. And when a wealthy woman refused Isis shelter one night, the smallest scorpion crept inside and struck her son in revenge. The boy nearly died, and only powerful magic saved him. But that creates another mystery. If 7 scorpions could protect a goddess, why does 7 also appear in spells meant to ward off deadly disease? Ancient healers wrote incantations invoking 7 arrows of plague, 7 bites, 7 wounds, as if illness itself traveled in that number. And this is where things get weird, because the number was not only tied to danger from outside, it was tied to fate itself, before a child was even born. Egyptians believed 7 goddesses called the 7 Hathors would appear at the moment of birth, standing invisible beside the newborn. And these Hathors did something no parent could control. They spoke the child's destiny aloud, deciding not just fortune, but the manner of death that awaited them. So, from the very first breath, 7 was already whispering into a person's future, and imagine carrying that belief through your entire life, knowing 7 unseen women had already written how your story would end. But the real terror waited until after death, because when an Egyptian soul finally left the body and entered the underworld, it did not simply walk into paradise. It had to pass through 7 gates, each one guarded by a fearsome spirit whose true name had to be spoken correctly, or the soul would be trapped forever. Imagine standing before a gate glowing with fire, and the only thing separating you from eternal wandering is remembering the exact word carved into a scroll buried beside your mummified body. That is why Egyptians filled tombs with copies of the Book of the Dead, page after page dedicated to naming these 7 guardians, because forgetting even one name meant failure. At the final threshold, researchers studying these funerary texts discovered something unexpected. The number 7 was not random. It echoed something the Egyptians saw with their own eyes every single night. 7 moving lights in the sky, the sun, the moon, and 5 visible planets wandering against the fixed backdrop of stars. To ancient eyes, these 7 lights behaved like living beings, unpredictable, powerful, untouchable. And so, the number that ruled the heavens became the number that ruled fate, medicine, and death itself. But the mystery does not stop in Egypt, because centuries later, completely different cultures across the world also built calendars, rituals, and superstitions around that same number 7, as if humanity kept circling back to it without knowing why. Every time you hear someone call 7 a lucky number today, you are echoing a fear that once made ancient priests carve protective spells into stone. Every time a story features 7 trials, 7 doors, or 7 days, you are standing on the same foundation Egyptians built thousands of years ago, watching 7 lights move across a sky they could not explain. The word has changed from feared to lucky, but the fascination never really left us. Maybe that is the strangest part of all. A number born from ancient terror became the same number. People whisper before they roll dice, hoping it favors them instead of warning them. The sky is still the same sky the Egyptians looked up at. The lights still move the same way they did thousands of years ago. Only the meaning we give them has changed, and somewhere between fear and luck, the number 7 has been quietly following humanity the entire time, waiting to see which one we choose to believe.